tonight.
You're constantly moving because there's beds being wheeled in and out, just no space.
A Saskatoon man sounds the alarm on overcrowding at a city hospital. The province opens up access to certain legal services beyond lawyers. And we meet a Saskatoon surgeon who's taking his skills from the operating room to the kitchen.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, October 2nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. A Saskatoon hospital is once again in the spotlight after a video went viral showing patients packed into a hallway of its emergency room. And as Aaliyah Marco Omene reports, one man says it's impacting the quality of care.
Tim Lang says this is what he and his mother experienced at Royal University Hospital in Saskatoon last week. No privacy, with dozens of patients packed wall to wall. Lang says his mother spent 3 days in a hallway after suffering a stroke before she was finally admitted. Lang says he wants to avoid Saskatoon if he or a family member ever needs emergency healthcare services again.
You're supposed to be trying to rest and trying to get treatment from physio or occupational therapy or speech therapy in a hallway that you're constantly moving because there's beds being wheeled in and out, just no space. You got no dignity there. The hallway she was in, there was no divider walls or nothing.
It's not the first time a Saskatoon hospital has experienced an overcrowded ER. These pictures show similar issues at St. Paul's Hospital in May. The Saskatchewan Health Authority says people were only put in the hallways when it was safe to do so.
Patients are assessed by a physician, a care plan is put in place, and admission decision is made. So those patients, we clearly understand their illness or injury.
Ash says the situation at RUH happened due to a number of factors, including a surge in seasonal cold and flu cases. But the NDP disagrees. It says the overcrowding shows the province's healthcare system is broken.
Unfortunately, this video shows a daily reality of what our ERs are like most of the time.
The SHA says the situation has already improved since last week, with more than 100 beds being added to alleviate similar situations. 20 of those beds are already operational. Aaliyah Marco Omene, CBC News, Regina.
A Saskatoon man who preyed on 23 unknowing women was sentenced Thursday at Court of King's Bench. Kyle Hamiluk previously pleaded guilty to 23 charges of voyeurism. He secretly filmed women through their bedroom, bathroom, and living room windows at night. He's been sentenced to almost 3 years behind bars, but with credit for time served, he'll be released in about 7 months from now. The Crown prosecutor in the case says the length of the sentence offers some justice for Hamiluk's victims.
The message I hope they would take from this is we do take these matters very seriously, that these are important cases, that we want them to feel safe and protected. And I know that's difficult when we have situations like this happen. The conditions that were set up for Mr. Hamiluk upon his release are onerous, and they do provide that public protection.
Hamiluk will be on probation for 2 years following his release. He'll have to follow several conditions, including a curfew and mandated counseling. People in Saskatchewan now have more options when it comes to getting legal help. Changes have been made to the province's Legal Profession Act, and that changes who can provide certain legal services. Jeremy Warren has more.
They're not lawyers, but as of this week, they can do some of the work of a lawyer. Under new legislation, non-lawyers who meet certain criteria can now apply for limited licenses to provide some legal services in Saskatchewan. Those services include some cases in provincial court, such as small claims and traffic matters, as well as uncontested divorces, wills and estates, and some corporate services. The idea is to increase access to the justice system and free up lawyers to focus on more complex cases.
This just increases the spectrum of service providers available and at different price points with different areas of focus and training.
The Law Society has been testing the new service in a pilot project that started in 2022. Michelle Linklater provides family law services as a qualified non-lawyer. She does consented divorces and charges a fee up to $850.
If people are having to pay retainers of $10,000, and what I'm seeing as a service provider, not many people are high income bracket earners. So we're taking that money out of the family.
The Law Society says limited licensing is a first of its kind initiative in Canada.
They are subject to the same strict ethical requirements as lawyers and also bound by the rules of the Law Society, which provide excellent oversight for the provision of legal services in the province.
Service providers must meet certain educational requirements, carry insurance, and complete ethics training. The first licenses will be issued starting next year. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A person in Martensville is recovering after being attacked by a bat. The city was alerted about it on Wednesday. The residents said they were bitten multiple times on the neck, and they think the bat was trying to protect its young. The city says the person got a rabies shot, but the incident still raises concerns. Rabies is deadly for any person or animal that contracts it. The city of Martensville is now reminding people to avoid any contact with bats and to seek immediate medical attention if they do come in contact with one. Popular agricultural supply store PV Mart will be returning to the prairies. The company has announced its plans to return to Saskatchewan on its website. The retailer closed all its stores earlier this year due to financial challenges. An investment group then bought the PV Mart brand and intellectual property in April. The first locations will open in Alberta this fall. There's no date yet for any Saskatchewan stores, but the company says once more investors are on board, it intends to open stores in previously held markets. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is trying to kickstart a new oil pipeline to the BC coast. Smith announced Wednesday that her government will propose its own pipeline to the federal government's Major Projects Office.
We think we have to be the catalyst to make that happen, and that's why we're leading the initial couple of stages of this project with $14 million to get some of the technical work done. And we anticipate getting to a point where a private sector proponent will be prepared to take this on because they can see that it will get done.
The Alberta government is developing the proposal because no corporate interests have stepped up. Smith says the province isn't interested in owning a pipeline, only in getting the ball rolling. She is now pushing Prime Minister Mark Carney to revise environmental laws around oil and gas that have made the industry reluctant to start a new project. BC Premier David Eby says he opposes those revisions, and he has cast heavy skepticism on Smith's plans. The city of Saskatoon has unveiled a Métis Red River cart at City Hall. It's part of the city's initiative to recognize Indigenous cultures and histories in public spaces. Métis Nation Saskatchewan Senator Nora Cummings provided her insights to the city's culture and inclusion team, which helped bring the cart to City Hall. Cummings says she never thought she'd see the day where this would happen.
This is history of Saskatoon for the Métis of Saskatoon. This is totally history. And it's not only for us, but it's for our younger generations and for our other people, all our races of people. And I'm very proud of that.
Cummings says in the future she hopes to see all races working together in unity to build a better future for younger generations. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are less than 24 hours away from their next matchup, and they are hungry to get back in the win column. They're traveling to Ottawa to take on a Red Blacks team that has struggled significantly this season. The Green and White hosted Ottawa way back in Week 1 of the CFL season. The Riders won that game, but Red Blacks QB Drew Brown threw for over 400 yards. Riders head coach Corey Mace says his team has ways they'll try to limit Brown and his explosive receivers.
We got to make some plays on the ball, no doubt. I mean, certainly, you know, he can put that thing out there, but ultimately, you know, whether it's putting pressure on him through, you know, rushing 4 or sending pressure, you know, Winnipeg did a good job knocking balls down, or, you know, taking advantage of tips and overthrows. However it looks, you know, we just got to capitalize on those opportunities and then ultimately just try to hold them to one less point than we get.
The Riders will make a plethora of changes for Friday night's game. Receiver Kian Schaefer-Baker returns to the lineup. He has not played since the last Riders-Red Blacks matchup in Week 1. Kicker Brett Lowther will miss this week's game. Campbell Fair will take over kicking duties. Kickoff is at 5:30 Saskatchewan time. Well, some significant progress was made on harvest in the province over the past week. 84% of this year's crop is now in the bin, a 16% increase over the week before. That's now slightly ahead of the 10-year average, but still behind the 5-year average of 92%. Weather specialist Helena Mahalik says there's still some dry days ahead to finish things off. She'll have the details in her forecast after the break. Well, you could call it a debate around the clock, whether to abolish the rotation between standard time and daylight savings time. Now a Liberal MP is presenting a private member's bill to end it. Nicole Williams has the story.
I'm here to say the time has come to address time change.
Member of Parliament Marie-France Lalonde on Parliament Hill this afternoon, bringing up the age-old question. Why do we still need to change our clocks in Canada?
There's more road accidents, including pedestrians getting hit by cars, happen when the time changes.
It's why she's putting forward a private member's bill that would see the formation of a pan-Canadian conference on seasonal time change in the hopes of putting an end to it once and for all.
This is a complex question touching on multiple aspects of biology as well as geographical and environmental factors.
Lalonde says it's a long shot, but it is doable. There are several regions in Canada that have already ditched the switch, including Saskatchewan, parts of BC, Nunavut, and the Yukon, which left behind seasonal time changes in 2020.
The idea was, like, can we move the daylight so that there's a little bit left somewhere for people to grab onto.
But there's a lot to consider, and not everyone is so sure it would make their lives better.
In the fall, we definitely wouldn't want to be waking up in the dark. I really need the light, want the light when I get up, and I know the kids, it would be difficult for them as well.
Then there's people like Mike Vahabi, who proposes what he calls super daylight savings, a second spring forward in August.
I think that would do a lot for businesses who rely on people being out in the evenings. I think it would make it safer for kids to play sports and to continue being outside in the summertime.
Okay, that's even less likely to happen, but experts say regardless, these are options still worth exploring for the benefit of everyone. The private member's bill is scheduled to be tabled next week. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
Health Canada says more than 5 million Canadians are now covered by the federal dental care plan, but the latest data reveals nearly half of those who are eligible have not visited a dentist. It's been 6 months since the federal government expanded the program to cover those aged 18 to 64. To qualify, you must have a household family income of under $90,000. Health Canada says close to 100% of active dentists, hygienists, and denturists are now treating patients through the program. The Liberal government has unveiled a new national procurement agency. The Defence Investment Agency is aimed at speeding up the purchase and delivery of military equipment.
The goal or aim of this agency is to equip the Canadian Armed Forces with the tools and equipment they need at the speed of relevance, bringing Canadian industry into the tent to stimulate our own economy and to create good-paying jobs for Canadians.
Ottawa says the new agency will deal with all purchases above $100 million and has the authority to enter contracts free from a complex and lengthy approval process. The goal is to buy Canadian whenever possible. It's also mandated to work closely with allies, including the UK, France, and Australia. Canada currently buys most of its military equipment from the US. Weather specialist Helena Mahalik joining us now. Another October day where it has been sunny and dry for many of us, Helena.
Yes, Ethan, it has been beautiful, a dry start to the month. We had a very dry September as well. Let's take a look and see which areas of the province were experiencing some of those conditions. Like Swift Current, which got 0% of its normal precipitation, making for its driest September on record. Key Lake also had its third driest September on record, but on the flip side, you have Regina, which got over 100% of its average precipitation. Now, temperature-wise, in September, it was a very warm month. The entire province was around 2 to 4 degrees above average. La Ronge with its warmest September on record, many other places with its third or fourth warmest on record. The second day of October was also quite warm, especially in the southeast corner. Places like Estevan still in the mid-20s. You're getting colder as you go up in the province, but still hovering in the mid-teens for central and northern parts of the province. In the next few days, Friday, we're still going to be hovering around 20 degrees throughout south and central Saskatchewan. Saturday, we drop down to the mid-teens, and Sunday is our big day of cool down. You're noticing our map doesn't even have reds and yellows anymore. Central Saskatchewan and the north is going to be in the single digits, so we're seeing about 10-degree drop down on Sunday. Thursday in the province, a very calm day weather-wise, just some cloud coverage. But in the next few days, we are going to be getting a little bit of moisture. Friday in the southwest, some rainfall in the Swift Current area. And in the next coming days into our weekend, some more moisture is possible for the northern grain belt, areas around La Ronge and Prince Albert. And what could this be? Saturday evening, maybe even some snowfall coming in the northern grain belt for areas along the Alberta border. Say it ain't so. It's only the beginning of October and fall. Potentially some more snow could be possible Sunday morning in the La Ronge area, as well as Saskatoon in the central area. Some moisture could be possible. So just how much moisture are we going to be getting? Some places only around 5 to 8 millimeters of moisture in some central areas. And as for the north, we aren't getting too much moisture, but we are getting about a day of rain there. Areas around the Alberta border are going to be hit with the most of that rain. So we could see anywhere from 4 to 8 millimeters there. So Ethan, I hate to be the bearer of bad news and say there might be snow. Hopefully it doesn't stick around.
Right, but you're going to do something about that before it actually happens, right?
Oh yeah, I have my magic weather powers. I'm taking care of it, don't worry.
We will trust you with them. Helena, thanks so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, Canada's women's rugby team recently captured silver at the Women's Rugby World Cup in England. We caught up with the lone Saskatchewan player on the Canadian team to hear how it went.
Oh, well, I'm still recovering from a 2-month-long journey, to say the least. Just feeling proud, feeling sad again, but like reminding ourselves like we had such an amazing tournament, and people are reminding us that we've changed women's rugby and just rugby in general for the better. We keep having to remind ourselves of that because obviously we didn't get to achieve our big goal, but I guess we for sure know we're not done, and we'll be back. It's gonna take some time, I think. I don't think I really noticed it until I was warming up and I couldn't hear my teammates talking to each other. And I was like, okay, I'm already going to lose my voice. Here we go. But I don't know. I don't think we really noticed it until after the game. And we were like, oh shit, there's 82,000 people here. Like, this is freaking awesome. Even though we had just lost, we were like, let's just take it in. Let's just feel this. This is the second biggest World Cup final in all men's and women's rugby ever. So we were like, let's just take this in. And yeah, it was loud, and it was just awesome energy. They were cheering not just for England, not just for us, they were cheering for women's rugby. And so it was really, really special, even if I couldn't hear anything sometimes, but we knew that was coming. We had our hand signals ready, and at some points, but you just have your mind in whatever zone you're in. Sometimes you forget they're there until you actually take a moment after the game and you're like, oh wow, this is really cool.
Well, you heard about the snow in Helena's forecast, and the city of Regina is preparing for when we really hit winter. All 8 of the city's indoor rinks are now open for the season, meaning you can now enjoy some indoor skating time or play some sports on the ice. The rinks are open until March. As for outdoor rinks, well, let's hope there's still at least a couple of months to go until those are ready. Stay with us. We have more news for you coming up after the break. When Saskatoon doctor Kavit Chattergoon isn't doing surgery, he can be found in the kitchen whipping up delicious baking creations. Now those skills have landed him on the latest edition of the Great Canadian Baking Show. He joined CBC Radio's Saskatoon Morning to talk about the process of getting on the show.
I moved back to Canada. I was in the US for almost 15 years, and I moved back to Canada about almost 3 years ago and started watching the Canadian show. We couldn't see it in the US. We were watching the British one in the US, and when we moved to Canada, we started going through all the seasons in the Canadian one and loving it. It's obviously a little different than the British, but still has the overall feel of camaraderie and just, heartwarming show. And at one point, it was actually my wife who suggested I applied, and I was like, never thought about it. Had never considered applying for the show, never thought of it as an option, as a possibility. And so she mentioned it as we were sitting on the couch watching the show, and I pulled up my laptop and realized that, applications close in a week. This was a few years ago now, and so I applied and made it much further in the process than I thought that year, and then applied again, and then a third time, and a third time was the charm.
And Helene is back now with a look at the forecast that looks a little more like fall than summer.
Yeah, Ethan, we do have a few colder days coming our way. Let's take a look at the forecast for the city of Regina. Friday and Saturday, still feeling quite warm in those mid to high teens. Slight chance of rainfall as well. Our overnight lows above seasonal. But Sunday, you see a drop down. Our overnight lows return to freezing or even below freezing, and we're sitting about 10 degrees. However, we do have some breeze as well, some stronger winds. But as we get into next week, temperatures slowly climbing back up, Wednesday being our hottest day with temperatures a little closer to 20 degrees. Saskatoon also in for a few warmer days. Sunday, though, a big drop down by almost 10 degrees, single digits and a strong breeze, overnight lows below freezing. However, climbing back up to the double digits, and by Wednesday, we will see temperatures closer to 20 degrees again, despite some stronger breeze, and our overnight lows will be above seasonal. So, Ethan, a few fall days coming our way, but there is some hope out there still.
Okay, my fall jacket is ready to go. Thanks, Helena.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that's our news for this Thursday. Visit our website or YouTube channel for the latest news or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching.